The hitting stops here is at the Texas State Capitol building here in Austin, and we are here to campaign regarding corporal punishment in the schools. Texas leading the way with the most school beatings in the entire nation. There are more than 80,000 beatings reported in this state, and the state superintendent of Texas said that actually it's more than that, but we don't want to look bad. Today I have with myself a parent whose son went to school with a little boy in the state of Arkansas, a paddling state, where the little boy told her son, "You better be good in this class. Last year I was beaten 40 times. That was said August 2010. And I have with myself the parent, and her name is Sandra Sadulce. Ms. Sadulce, could you tell us a little more about your experiences with corporal punishment in the state of Arkansas?
Well, I had never heard of corporal punishment until I moved to Arkansas. And when I found out what it was, I signed a piece of paper saying it wouldn't be done to my children. And then my youngest son started kindergarten the following summer. And during the first week of kindergarten, he came home terrified, crying and begging me not to make him go back to school because his teacher had a paddle. Apparently she had brought it to the reading carpet and showed it to the entire kindergarten class and threatened them with having it used on them if they didn't behave. I went to the principal and she stated to me that if the teacher didn't get control of her classroom, they wouldn't get their test scores. Now please remember, this was the 4th day of kindergarten. She also stated that she had already had to use it on a child from my son's class, and that for some children it was the only way to get their attention.
Wow.
Yeah, she didn't have time to get their attention in other ways. This was the first week of kindergarten.
So I noticed this sign that you have here that you've been campaigning out here in front of the State Capitol building of Texas for the last 5 days. I believe you've been out here. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what is this about this sign? Tell us a little bit more about this sign and what happened here.
Well, I took my kids out of the first school and I put them in the school that was the only other school that was within driving distance. And it was ironic, but as the very first day of school, I walked my children to their classroom, and this was my oldest son and daughter are in the same classroom. And the very first thing that was said to my son from another student while I was standing there was, "You better be good or you'll get a whooping." And he said that he had gotten it 40 times last year, and that he said, "Oh, and she really hits hard, so you better be careful." Of course, I was beside myself because I had just taken them out of one school, and then the very first thing out of the child's mouth to my son, and he was just trying to make conversation. It's just sad that that had to be the conversation that the first thing he would say to a new friend in a new classroom in 2nd grade.
You said 2nd grade. That was his experience.
Well, apparently he was beaten in 1st grade because he said last year, so he was beaten 40 times that previous year, and that was about it would have been the 2nd month of school of 2nd grade, and I believe he had already gotten it that year as well because he was already worried about it.
Wow, that is so unbelievable. And so prior to living there, where did your children go to school? I know you still have very young children, so the oldest one being in 2nd grade. Were you living in a different state prior to that experience?
We were living in Texas. We were in the Richardson School District in the Dallas city limits.
And was there corporal punishment in that school?
There was not corporal punishment as in paddlings in that school, but there was other punitive disciplines that were just as damaging.
I see. Yeah, all of it is very damaging. So getting back to this particular teacher, did you go directly to her and say, what is this about, you know, this little boy being beaten 40 times? Did you ever get into that conversation with her? Or did you just try to protect your son from it happening to him? Did you just take him out to school? What happened?
I went to the principal, and I wanted to have a form that I could sign. I wanted to know that it would not happen to my children. I wanted to have some kind of legal protection. So I did confront the principal, and I brought her a sign that stated that she would not use corporal punishment on my children, and she refused to sign it. She refused to sign it, and then she told me that it was a courtesy of the school board that I be notified in the event that corporal punishment was going to be used on my son, or to ask my permission. But legally, she said, she could use it if she saw fit.
Wow.
Without my permission.
So did your son come out of your womb or the teacher's?
Mine.
Okay. I was just wondering, because it sounds like your child is a piece of property. It sounds like chattel. You know, during slavery days, the slave master could beat the child, the mother, and the husband because they were chattel. And it sounds like that's what your child is when he's under the roof of an American school where paddling is sanctioned. How did that make you feel?
Well, it made me feel angry, and it made me feel powerless to protect my children from violence. You know, I was told that I had no right to, I could not stop the threatening of my 5-year-old son by his teacher, and I couldn't, and in the event that this principal saw, you know, fit to beat my child, I could not protect him.
Wow. And so did you send your child to that school knowing that this woman could beat your son at her will?
No, I took my children out of the school immediately.
Well, you're a rare parent. I've been doing this for 4 years, and at best I hear a lot of parents say, well, I just haven't put ice on it. So I'm so glad that you are protecting your child and your children from that type of abuse. And it just amazes me that here we are in the USA where somebody has the lawful right to beat your child. Yet do you realize that if you put these same bruises that are on, let me see if I have a photograph. We have a photograph of some students who were beaten and just the bruises on their buttocks. If you were to produce these same bruises, do you realize that you could go to prison? Do you see these bruises in this picture?
I do realize that.
Yeah.
And that, when on their last day of school at the first school, I arrived early, and I asked the principal, I wanted to take a picture of the paddle. And I had asked to have the paddle removed from my son's kindergarten class. And so I wanted to see what it looked like, because I had never seen one.
Right.
And she goes, okay, I'll show you the paddle. And so she went in her office, and then to find out the paddle was still in the classroom.
Right.
So she goes, well, here I have a whole bunch of them. It's just they're identical. And she had a stack of them on like a shelf in her office. And so she picked up the first one, and she goes, here's one. She goes, oh, wait a minute. She goes, this one's cracked. And then she picked up another one, and she said, oh, this one's broken too. A third one, and that one was broken too. Until she came to the fourth one and goes, here's one, here's a good one, here's a good one. That's what she said, here's a good one. And I went to take out my camera to take a picture of it, and she goes, oh no, we don't allow that here. And yeah, so she had no problem showing it to my 5-year-old, but I can't take a picture of it.